Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. As a lot of people have asked and emailed us since the documentaries for additional guidance and information about how to get to Mauritania, I thought we'll just mention a few points that could be of benefit to all. First and foremost, plan your trip during the winter months. January to March, they say, is probably the best time, because when it gets beyond that, it's extreme dry heat that you'll find, and then there's probably some winter season as well. January to March is quite pleasant. When we went, it was extremely pleasant, so try to go during that time. Number two, there's very few flights that actually go there, and it's also expensive because it's not a very frequently flown to destination. So Turkish Airlines is quite good, except that you have to go all the way to Turkey first if you're going from Europe or America, and then go back 7 hours or 8 hours. So the other way to go is through Morocco. It just depends on what the best timing that you'll get and the best pricing that you'll get on the tickets. If you want to go Senegal as well, then it's probably better to use something like Turkish Airlines or something to go into Nouakchott, which is the capital of Mauritania, and then come back out of Senegal. The other thing is, when you get there, then you could check into a hotel down there. Nouakchott has some decent hotels and everything. It's a city that has a lot of these modern amenities and everything. But then make sure you get a driver who knows where he's going, and get that driver. If you're going to meet Murabitul Hajj, which I'm assuming most people are going to do, if they're going to a place called Tuwaymarat, then what you need to do is you need to get a driver that goes to the closest city. And what our friend and host, Brother Mukhtar, may Allah reward him abundantly, what he did for us was really good, because he got a driver for the 7-hour journey, 6-7 hour journey to the closest city, Geru, and then from there he got another driver. And I was wondering why get another driver, but it was good because this was a local driver who knew his way through a desert. There's no markings on the road and in the mountains. And after we came back, I read a number of stories of others who'd gone there and they'd spent 24 hours to get there, right? Just 24 hours just on the road. It took us about, I would say, about 10-11 hours. It took them 24 hours. They actually ended up in the middle of the night in another village, where then they stayed and so on. And it's not easy. So don't take somebody who doesn't know the way. Take one driver up to Geru, and then from Geru take another driver who knows his way to Tuwaymarat. Otherwise, you don't want agony in that regard. When you get into Mauritania, they do the visa checks and so on, and it takes about 15 minutes per person or something. They take your fingerprints. It's quite a lot of things that they do down there. It's just one of the things that you're going to have to face in these kind of countries. So it really helps if you've got somebody that you're staying with or a contact there. So as soon as we got there, they asked us, who's coming to pick you up. So we mentioned Brother Mukhtar's name. They asked for his phone number. They called him up and they said, okay, your visitors are here. The other thing is that because the brothers I went with as well, my companions, we all had big beards, they were a bit suspicious of us, it seems, because they have some problem with Salafis down there, and generally it's Salafis who have long beards. The people there of North Africa, of West Africa rather, they have more goatee style of beards. Just naturally their hair, their beard isn't always as dense as ours are. So they were a bit suspicious because there's problems in Mali, and sometimes people use Mauritania to go through to that. So they probably get paid to make sure that the security is very strong. So they do that. But one thing, what they said about Mauritania, my friend told me, is that if we had just got there and our friend had not turned up for some reason, and been held up with some work, or couldn't get there for some reason, and we'd missed him, or there was a mistake in the dates or something like that, he says within 2 days people would have been able to find him. There's only about 3 million population there, and pretty much everybody knows the other person or their tribe or something. So if I'd just given the full name of Brother Mukhtar, he says that within 2 days they would have probably been able to locate exactly where he is through his family, through his father and so on. Somebody would know somebody else. That's kind of very interesting in a whole country, that you can do something like that within that Nouakchott and general area. You need at least, if you want to go to visit Sheikh Murabit al-Hajj, then you need at least 48 hours minimum if you're willing to spend 2 nights in the car. This is what we did. Both the nights going there and coming back, we spent in the car. Of course, if you don't want to do that and you want to go and rest somewhere for the night, then you want to go, then you need at least 3 days. You know, you need at least 3 days. You need at least 2 nights and 3 days. We didn't have much time, so we spent both nights back there and going there and back in the car. The other thing is that British pounds, they don't seem to value them much. It's best to take euros or US dollars. They charge about 50 euros at the airport, and because the euro exchange rate with the pound was very good, we got a good deal. But pounds are more difficult to exchange down there, so best to get euros or dollars when you go there. Remember, it's a francophone country, so it's a more French oriented in terms of the language and so on. Few people understand English. It's a good idea to take lots of copies of your passport, because every time you enter a city or come out of a city, first you get the police check, then you get the gendarmerie, which is the National Guard, and they want to register you. So each time you're going past, they want to register you, and they take your passport in. It takes about 5, 7, 10 minutes or whatever. And each of these places, they would be suspicious about our beards. So then they would ask our host, are they Salafi, or what are they? And they said, no, we're going to meet the sheikhs, and we're Sufi and so on and so forth. So it's then they calm down. Then it's not a problem. But what our friend did was that he had a lot of our passport copies, so he would just give them the passport copy, and then we'd be able to carry on. When we did go past one place a few times, and then they recognized us, then they would just let us go past. But it was a good idea to do this registration, and the reason for it is that if then you are accused of going to a wrong place in another country or something like that, in Mali or anywhere else, somebody has some suspicion over you, these registrations can prove that where you were at any given date. So there's a bit of inconvenience there, but it's probably worth it to a certain degree in the current climate. If you want to take gifts for these scholars, for the people, they appreciate gifts. It's good to give gifts to scholars when you go to visit them. One of the best things that you can give, which is universal, is obviously give them some money, right? You can give them some money, either exchange it, then give it to them. And there's probably other things that you can consider taking as well. In terms of food is generally available out there, but if you sometimes with the local food down there, you may be a bit worried about that. Some people just can't eat other than what they feel very comfortable with. Then you can take your own dry snacks and things of that nature, or buy something in the workshop before you carry on. Bottled water seems to be available everywhere. The Taiba brand is very nice, and apparently it's nice. There's other bottled water. It's available. It's not too expensive either, right? So you can carry a lot of that. There's some decent soft drinks and other kind of beverages that you'll get, which is imported out of Morocco, from Morocco, and so on. Another thing is, it's a good idea to take some mosquito repellent if you're going further south. Nouakchott and the northern parts of Mauritania doesn't have that problem, but when you get south, or further south, especially if you're going to Senegal, then you'll need that, because these are high risk malaria, and there's some certain shots and injections that you need to take. Again, this is not some kind of official guide that I'm providing. This is just don't go and make your own research. Do your own research for this, and don't just take my word for any of these things. I'm not going to take any liability for anything for that may happen. So where you might be sleeping, if you go to these villages where there are the mahdaras, it's not going to be plush beds that you'll get. It'll be maybe some cushions on the ground, or just some blankets or something like that. So you have to be willing to do that. Another thing is the toilets, the bathroom situation. You generally have to take a jug with you. It's generally just a hole kind of in the ground. There's no flush system in most of these places, especially in the Badia. So you have to be willing to deal with all of these issues. Wudu you'll just do from a jug as well. Generally, wherever you go, there's maybe some wasps or hornets buzzing around, lots of flies around in your food, and that you just have to get used to it. That's just the way it is. It is down there. as if you're going to go to Senegal as well, it's about 50 euros at the border. It takes about 2 hours or something like that. You cross over. But once you get into Senegal, then you suddenly notice that it becomes less desert. It suddenly starts becoming greener, and things are just much more advanced in Senegal. I hope this is some kind of help for any journey that you might want to take. And aside from that, any other kind of travel accessories that you need or whatever. And the main thing is take your taqwa with you, because that's the most important thing on a journey. The Prophet ﷺ used to always remind people about taqwa on a journey. Be careful, be considerate, and fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wherever you are, and you'll get a much more blessed journey. If you want more information about the whole concept of traveling in Islam and so on, I've got another video on that, another talk on that on ZamZamAcademy, which is the etiquette of traveling. That might be helpful as well, just in general about traveling. Jazakumullah khair. Barakallahu feekum. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.